instructional design process, right before I create my storyboards, I either by myself or if I'm working with a team of developers, do it with them. I sit down and we come up with a style guide. We also obviously include the SME client, possibly the learners in this process, just depending on the project is who you're going to really include. We create what's called a style guide. I do this right before or when I'm beginning my storyboards. Why? Because I need to define what this program is really going to look like, or what my software training or whatever I'm developing is actually going to look like. So the point of the style guide is to define everything about development. Like we're defining the style. What does that mean? I'm defining my fonts. So are we using Arial, Times New Roman? This is, just imagine how difficult it would be if me and 5 other people were designing or developing this and we all used a different font. Or we just didn't tell the developer what the font was going to look like. So we have to define all of that kind of stuff. So we define the font style, font sizes, any colors, colors of background, colors of fonts, colors of anything on the page. We define all the colors. Usually there's a color family we define and list all, the 3 or 5 colors we're going to use. Any themes, like are we using some kind of special music, or are we using some kind of predefined images that we've created somewhere? Are we using a template, or are we developing a template? What does the template look like? Is there a specific layout? Like, are we using columns? Are we placing an image then text? Are we going to have an image then text next to it? How are we going to create this? What is it going to look like? What is the layout? Are buttons on the bottom, top, sides? Because if we have multiple developers, we have to make sure it's consistent. And what are the pixels? Where is it really going to be? Like, is the button going to be on where on the XY axis is it really going to be? Screen resolution, screen size. Are we creating this for a phone, a huge computer? Because that makes a significant difference in all of our layout and everything. Are we printing this or not printing this? Like, how are our images developed? Are we creating them in Illustrator versus Photoshop based on print or not? What are we using for buttons? What do our buttons look like? Are we creating a template for them? What kind of spacing are we using? After a period, are we going to have 1 space, or are we going to have the old style of 2 spaces? What kind of white space are we going to have on the page in general? And then formatting, like, are we using a style like APA? Or something of that nature. Like, are we going to define our layout that way? And then are we having hidden data within each of these files, like things for SCORM, like metadata? Are we going to have comments? Are we going to have some kind of developer notes? We define all of this stuff in the style guide. What you include is going to be dependent on your actual deliverables, but you need to have a style guide no matter what you're doing, whether you're developing a document, whether you're developing PowerPoint, something in Articulate, a game, it doesn't really matter what you're developing. You always need to have some kind of style guide, even if you are the only developer. Why? Because I've worked on projects where I develop it, and guess what? The client comes back to me 6 months later and needs an edit, or a year later and wants an edit. Can I actually remember what I was doing? Or do I have to go back and reverse engineer and figure it out? Now, I personally always create a style guide. I was taught to do that from the beginning, so I always have. But I've come into companies where something was developed by a previous developer. No comments, no style guide, no anything. And I've spent so long, sometimes in software, trying to take it apart in ways it's not supposed to be taken apart, just to figure out what the developer did so that I can redo it. So a style guide saves a lot of time. It's very quick and easy to do. It does not take a long time to create a style guide. Very, very beneficial. So please create one. Thank you.